Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Her Hoop Stats podcast. I am joined today by Helen Williams. My name is Brittany Carper, and we are here to talk women's college basketball, just like we do pretty much every day, weekday, now that the college season has started. So, Coach, how you doing?
I'm good now that, as I said off camera, the cold weather's gone that you sent my way. I'm good.
You know, the only thing good about cold weather this time of year is means we're into college hoops. So we got to take, the cold weather with the college hoops, right?
Take the cold weather with the college hoops, and if I'm doing a game in a place that's cold, I'm praying that it's at 12 o'clock so I can fly out that night.
Yeah, for sure. I say the best place about for basketball fans is it's always cold or it's always warm, 70 and sunny in a gym. So
There you
we'll
go.
take that. But first off, just because there's so many of them in the women's college game right now, I just wanted to touch on the Education Day games that are taking place all over the country. I just had one today at Illinois State. They played Chicago State, but just really wanted to give big kudos to athletic departments, especially the marketing staffs and the administrators and all the schools that pour into those days. They are just so valuable, I think, for the younger generation to get the opportunity to get eyes on, go see high level basketball. For many of them, that might be their only opportunity to check out a game. But I think it also sparks a really big interest in young people, especially to watch the women's game. And so just because I came from one today, I wanted to make sure we touched on that. And I don't know how many you've called in your day, Coach, but the ears are always
Let's
still
just say
ringing.
I have called those, and I'm very happy that I have the earphones on to muffle some of the noise. But no, it's great because you're growing the game at the grassroots level, and those kids really do have a good time, and they always have really good halftime acts. And so, yeah, kudos to the staffs for getting them there and then taking care of them while they're there, so that they want to come back.
Yeah, and another note on those games, not only do you hope someone hits 100 points this year, but the rave is 67. So in today's game, we had a player go to the line. They were at 65. And I said, man, there's a lot of pressure these days to hit 67 on the dot. And she knocked down both free throws. The kids are wild, they're all 6'7". And so I think we are probably going to see that a lot on social media over the next month or two as these Education Day games continue.
I still don't know what that means. So I
Uh,
guess
you
I'm
know,
dating myself. I have no idea what that means.
well, it doesn't really mean anything, Coach. That's the best part about it. It's just 6'7", So if anyone asks you, just 6'7",
Yeah,
and
the
go with it.
conspiracy theorists will say that it means something. We're brainwashing our kids with something, but okay, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, they all seem to have fun and, just really enjoyable games. So I just wanted to touch on that and just kudos to women's basketball because I think they do a phenomenal job promoting the game for the younger generation. So, but we will turn, to some upcoming games that we have on the docket. And the first one we kind of circled is a ranked matchup between North Carolina and UCLA, Coach. So just kind of tell us what you're looking forward to in that game and maybe some keys or players to watch that we can, have our eyes on.
Well, the first thing is that UCLA is loaded. I mean, loaded with experience, transfers in all positions. I mean, uh, Corey Close she can play 8, 9, 10 kids. So there's a lot of depth there, and UNC has depth too. But I've often said this: there's a difference between depth and production, right? So UCLA's depth, they produce there, and it's not that Carolina's not talented, but they are so deep. They go so deep, and I watched their game the other night, and you're looking at transfer Neepkins, who is, I mean, just sneaky savvy, 3 level scorer, just so smooth, and then you're looking at Dukulich. This is the first time I got a chance to really watch her play. I think she came over from Oregon.
Illinois kid.
Is she okay?
Yeah. She went to Oregon and then transferred to
So
UCLA.
that
Yep.
must be why she's a good 3-point shooter, right? She
Yeah.
can go
Yeah.
all the way.
Yep.
But no, very very impressed with her. And as I said when I was talking with Christy about UCLA, Gabriela Jaquez, like nobody really talks about her, but I feel like she's the glue of that team. She had let's see, she had 9 points and 10 boards, but as a defender, just athletic, and the glue of that team. And Lauren Betts didn't have a great game. I mean, it was they, she and what's the other kid's name? The big kid from
Reagan
Oklahoma.
Beers.
Yes, Reagan.
Yep.
Although they used to play against each other when on the same team when they were in Colorado. So she didn't have a great game, and what that showed me is that it's okay. If she doesn't, that there are other people that can pick up the slack from that. And so I was just very impressed with them and their bench, and still trying to figure out how I feel about Kiki Rice.
Hmm.
Obviously, very, very talented, but seems more intent on facilitating, which might be what they need for her to do. I'm looking at her and I'm thinking, okay, is there a WNBA team that's going to look at you and think that's what we need, right? Or
Right.
do we? Or is she? I said to Christy last week too that I think she needs to score more, not in a selfish way, but she's so talented, and I just think it doesn't come out. And again, that might be what UCLA needs, and so I might be speaking out of turn. I'm not privy to their practice every day, but I would like to see her do more. And very impressed with Charlize Ledger Walker. I mean, just they can literally have 2 point guards on the floor at the same time. So I think that they're a very deep team, and this is all without even seeing Sienna Betts. Like she hasn't even
Yep.
played yet. So they get even deeper, when she comes. So very impressed with them.
Yeah, I think Neepkins is the key for them. I think she's just such a good scorer and fits in seamlessly with the pieces that UCLA already had in place. And
Yeah.
you need someone like that, and maybe it does alleviate some of the pressure on Kiki Rice. I felt like down the stretch for them last year, they missed maybe that scorer that Neepkins is in those games, and so I really like what she adds to that team. But yeah, like you said, they're very deep and they're a productive deep, which is pivotal and crucial for teams that want to make deep runs and are expected to be contending for a national championship.
Yeah, and I watched Carolina. I mean, they have maybe I should say North Carolina just to make sure people don't. I know there's a North and a South, but being from
Yes.
from where I'm from, it's just Carolina. But I like. I mean, their freshmen are going to be good. I think they're going to have to depend on their freshmen. I like the acquisition of Nyla Harris from Louisville. She is a rebound waiting to happen. Most of her rebounds are on offense, and so the question for me for them is who is going to be the go-to scorer for them? Is a player like Harris going to be more aggressive because she does have good skills from 15 feet on in, really good from short corner, and obviously offensive rebounds. But who is that? Who are their main scorers going to be against Elon? They use Courtney Banghart used 12 players, and I think she was trying to figure out, who was going to. She was playing around with her lineups, trying to figure out what her best lineup's going to be. So there's depth there. How productive is it going to be? Is my question.
Yeah, and I think the thing with Carolina, especially into this game, is UCLA's already kind of had that battle test early, right, against a really
Right.
good Oklahoma team. And like you just said, Carolina's still trying to figure some things out in terms of what their lineups are going to look like, their rotations, who's going to be productive for them. And so I think in this game, regardless of the outcome, I don't think the team we're going to see from Carolina is probably the team they're going to be in 2 or 3 months. Would you say that's fairly
Exactly.
accurate?
Yeah, I think, and again, kudos to all the coaches who test their teams early against tough competition because you want to find out what you have, but it's also an opportunity to grow. If you're a coach and you have these freshmen on your team, there's no better experience than to just be out there, right? And to get a visceral understanding of what you're going to be asked to do. And this is different than high school. the pace is faster. Those gaps that you have for those passes are not there. It's going to be more physical. You're going to have to grow as an offensive player in terms of counter moves and things like that. And so I agree with you that 2 months from now, when we get to January, there will be a different team. But I like that Courtney Banghart wants to test her team early.
Yeah, and I think that does help you then figure out the answers to those questions that you have about, your team when you are playing an opponent like UCLA this early in the season. It's going to unveil some things that you need to learn about your team that like you just can't get in practices or against maybe opponents that you are going to beat, regardless of really how you play by, 20, 30 points. Like, sure, you're going to see some things, but in the long run, those aren't the things that are probably going to make you into Sweet 16, Elite 8 kind of team at this point in the season, unless you are, testing yourself.
The best thing about these games as a coach is you don't even have to say "I told you so." It's like
Yeah.
right there when they're playing the game, because the video does not lie. And it's not that you're trying to demean your kids or make them feel bad, but like, this is what I've been trying to tell you. This is why you need to set the screen at this angle. This is why you need to run wide to get your teammate open. This is why you need to do X, Y, and Z. And so it's a great teaching opportunity. Now, I'm a proponent that you don't always have to lose to learn a lesson, but you need a little bit of adversity, and this is going to be adversity whether they win or lose for the freshmen for North Carolina.
Yeah, and you touched on it too, just about the experience of freshmen. There really isn't anything that can simulate what a game is, and especially in an opponent like UCLA. The transition for some can be seamless. Like Sarah Strong last year, I would say that was a pretty seamless transition, but she is like
Sure.
one of few that can make that transition look pretty easy. For freshmen, it's just so important that they're out there, they're getting the experience, playing those games, and then you see the involvement of their progress throughout the season.
Yeah, and it's a great opportunity for them to grow mentally, and obviously physically they're gonna fill out at some point, but to grow their basketball IQ as well. And so I think this is going to be, one way or the other, a very meaningful game for North Carolina, because there's a standard there. We get to the tournament, and so we don't want to just get to the tournament. We are going to have to face teams like this when we get to the tournament, and can we produce, and can we win those games?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to that top 25 matchup tomorrow. Flipping the script a little bit, we're going to go to in-state matchup tomorrow. Belmont and Tennessee, really looking forward to that one. Belmont, always a really solid squad. They faced off at Oklahoma to open the season. It ended up a 17-point defeat, but they were in that game. They went on a 13-0 run in the third quarter, took a lead for a little bit. They were within 2 in the fourth quarter. And they're just a team that they walk into any gym and they are not scared of who that opponent is, no matter what it says across that chest. And that is just a kudos to the tradition that Belmont has had. And so I think this game, it's just going to be really interesting. I think Tennessee has been a little up and down this year. I think if you listen to any of Coach Kim Caldwell's press conference after the UT Martin game, in which they went on the road there, which again, kudos to a program like Tennessee going on the road to UT Martin, but just not very pleased with the performance of her team. I think the way Tennessee plays, she said, you have to play with a ton of effort, and you have to have energy, and you have to, go out there and maximize the amount of time that you're on the court, because for anyone who hasn't watched Tennessee, they're typically playing in about 2 or 3 minute shifts. And then, a whole new 5 comes on. And
It's
so,
that long.
yeah. And so if you're not maximizing and playing with, 100% effort out there, it's so noticeable. And I think, they just seem to be a team that is really kind of searching for who and what they are right now, even though they have a system in place of what they are. And so I think this is a game, if Belmont goes in there and if they are, if they shoot it like they are capable from the 3-point line, because what they don't have is a really solid post presence. They do have a sophomore, Hillary Fuller, averaging, I think, about 14.5 points, but that's just not what they're known for. They're built on really good guard play. And so I think, they could go in and catch Tennessee, maybe on a night where they could make, double digit threes, and that score, could be close.
Yeah, Belmont is always sneaky good, and they always schedule hard, which is why they always win their league all the time. But they're very precise in their movements, in their flow without the basketball, in their shooting. If they're able to shoot well, that's good for them, because that means that they can get back and they can set up their defense. When they're not shooting well, that's when they struggle, because they're a very good unified defensive team. And so they have issues when they have to go one-on-one, or their mismatches there in transition. So for them, really, really important for them to put in to make those shots. And then for Tennessee, obviously they don't have Ruby Whitehorn anymore, but I think they buy into Coach Kim's system mentally, but it's going to take a lot more to do the other part, the physical part, right? And so they say, yeah, I want to come there, I want to play hard, I want to do but when they get tired, that's not good for them. And also, if you can slow them down, then that's not great for Tennessee. They don't play well when you slow them down. I know NC State, when they played them, they were able to slow them down and make them play defense in the half court a little bit longer than I think they wanted to. That's a lot different than full court pressure and getting steals and not having to, shift for 30 seconds. What do you think?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. And another thing that a key, in my opinion, in that game is taking care of the basketball, right? Because Tennessee is built on a system that turns you over, and then now you're getting, layups at the rim, or you're getting those really, wide open kick out threes. And that, to me, is the key for their success. So if you value the basketball and you're getting possessions into the front court where you're making a Tennessee team that is not really built to play half court defense. I mean, that's just not what they're predicated on. They
Yeah,
don't,
exactly.
and it's not a knock on them as a team. It's just, that's not what
It's
they
their system.
Yeah. And so in my opinion, like, that is something this year that they really haven't had it click. Like, they're not forcing an extreme amount of turnovers because they're also turning the basketball over. And so I went back and I actually looked last year. I think they forced almost 300 more turnovers, than they had themselves. And right now, through 3 games, that's only 13. And so, I think when you're kind of evaluating that for them, it's like, we either have to find ways to turn the opponent over, or we have to get better in the half court. And so it's like, what is that trade-off? Yeah. And so I think, but again, that's just, you're seeing an influx of new players there too. And so, like you said, you want to play in that system, but then when it's asked of you, can you do the things when you get tired? And that's really any college team, right? I mean, when you're tired, are you built on habits that are going to make you successful on the basketball court? Are you valuing the basketball? Are you still rebounding? Are you taking quality shots? And I know that was another thing she touched on. She thought the UT Martin game, they took better 3-point looks, but before that, I think she said, they just were kind of jacking them, and that's not going to be a recipe for success for that Tennessee team.
Yeah, and they'll be different 2 months down the road too. But when you watch them play, there is some structure to the 3-point shots that they take, even though if the average person's looking at it, it looks like they're just jacking up threes. But there's a system there, and like you said, when they get out of that system is when they struggle, because then they actually create offense for other people, because you're missing threes. Those are long rebounds that the opponent doesn't have to cover the whole court in terms of fast break. So they'll get better, just like North Carolina will get better. It just and they'll be in better shape, so it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, and I think you did touch on it too with the loss of Ruby Whitehorn, so close to the season. I mean, there is some give and take there that you do have to work through that in terms of what your team does look like. So, but certainly I think that is going to be a really good game and an exciting matchup tomorrow night. The next one that we kind of had circled was Fairfield and South Florida.
Yeah, Fairfield always sneaky good too. I think people don't, really. Their 5-out motion is really good. They've got Megan Anderson, who's their best player. They've got Janelle Brown, who's back after, an ACL, and they play with such pace and they move the ball really well. And you have to be on your P's and Q's for almost 30 seconds, against them. And so, they're guard heavy as well. But I think they play so well together, right? And I think their coach, Carly Thibault, she has been up for so many jobs over the last few years, but the grass isn't green on the other side, and she stayed there and she's built something, and people want to be a part of what she's built. And they are really fun to watch. Now they have to hit their 3-pointers as well, but they move so well without the ball. There's really good offensive flow for them. South Florida, I think it's going to be interesting because obviously new coach, interim coach. So, she wants to focus a little bit more on getting to the basket, not so much with threes. But they're going to have the advantage of size, right? Inside, they play different lineups. Sometimes they'll play a lineup where they have the advantage with the size, and then sometimes they play, a lineup where they can go 5-out. So they've got the advantage in terms of inside, but there's a disadvantage there when that bigger lineup's playing against a 5-out for Fairfield, right? So what's going to happen there? And then for Fairfield, there's a disadvantage for them, when they don't really have post players. So it's going to be a really good chess game for them. And I think the team that can dictate on defense the best is going to be the team that wins. It's not reacting, but dictating is gonna win that game.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth with the chess match there. I think that's what that's going to be when you have two teams that really are trying to play very different styles. It's going to be interesting to see what wins out. Fairfield has done a phenomenal job in installing and running what they do with their 5-out. They are so efficient. They have, like you said, one of the best mid-major players in Megan Anderson. She's had, I think, 2 30-point games this season. And so, that's going to be a hard matchup for whoever you're going against. But then on the flip side, like you said, South Florida has some size, and they are, trying to go away from just being, strictly a 3-point shooting team. That transition from, Jose Fernandez, do you think that impacts the team at all? Or do you think they're pretty much settled into kind of, since it is someone who was on staff?
I mean, she's there for 18 years, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that would be as big a deal as if she hadn't been there that long. I think she would be smart not to change a whole lot, but just to tweak what she has based on what players she has. And then obviously, I think the system will probably be, at least initially, because he left so late, there's not going to be a huge change. And for some of them, maybe they like the fact that they can, they can drive to the hole and try to get downhill a little bit better, which would open it. Now they do have some 3-point shooters. It's not like they don't. So if they're able to do that, then they're going to be able to spray the ball out and get some wide open threes, and then use that size to offensive rebound. So I wouldn't expect at the beginning that there would be any huge wholesale changes, just some tweaks until she can figure out what she has and then go from there.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that's a neutral site matchup, correct? In Las Vegas, I think, as part of the WBCA challenge.
Yeah, it is. And I
Okay.
think that we'll go back to Fairfield, is to their advantage because they've scheduled Iowa, UNC, Richmond, like 3 teams that have been to the NCAA tournament last year. And so they're already getting ready for an environment that's not at home. So smart on their part. I think it would impact USF more than it would Fairfield being at a neutral.
Yeah. And
And
I think
I
with
think with
Fairfield, with
Fairfield,
their conference being a little bit weaker, it's important for them when they do have a team as good as they do to challenge themselves in the early part of this season, because once they kind of go through this gauntlet of non-conference, they've pretty much rolled through what their conference has presented them, the last 2 years. So I think, that's just important for them to be really good or tested in this early part so that they are prepared, going through the conference season. And then when they are hopefully, going to win another championship is their aspiration. They understand what's in front of them if they do make the NCAA tournament, because they've seen all of that in the non-conference.
Yeah, and something people don't think about, they've got to pass the eye test, whether the people on the committee want to admit that or not. They've got to pass the eye test. Are they good enough to get in and win a game? And that, people don't think about that enough. The eye test is really important. It's not the be all the end all, but there are biases, with people on the committee, and they want to see that they can compete. So smart for Fairfield to schedule Iowa and UNC in Richmond.
Yeah, absolutely. So another game to look forward to. And then the last kind of, two power fours that match up is SMU and Texas Tech. SMU is 1-1. They lost on the last second shot to K-State the other night. And then Texas Tech is coming in 3-0. They haven't played strong competition, but I'm really excited to see this game, just because I do think it is two teams that have gotten off to a fairly good start. SMU, they have 4 double figure scores right now. They're currently led by Sanaya Jaw. And then she followed Coach Adia Barnes from Arizona, and so very familiar. That was kind of a seamless transition for her. And then a transfer from North Texas has stepped in for them pretty well, and Kyla Deck, who's also averaging 12 points a game. And then on the flip side, you have Texas Tech, who kind of an unknown into this season. They haven't played a lot of strong competition, but they're led by Jalen Bristow, who, I think Justin just did an article on, kind of the Big 12 roundup that talked about the kind of season that she's having. She's averaging 17 and a half points a game, 7 rebounds, and has really just kind of, I think, found herself again early in this season. She was Miss Texas basketball a couple years ago, coming out of high school. And so just really interested to see these two match up when, it's probably outside of the K-State, who was a fairly new roster, probably the best opponent that these two are facing off, this early into the season.
Yeah, the interesting thing about both these teams is that they are at schools that have put a lot of money into football. Right? There's a lot of oil money there in Texas, and so if you look at Texas Tech softball did really well. They spent money on that. Football obviously doing really well. Spent money on that. I don't know what they spent for women's basketball, but they do need to win this year for that coach. I can't remember, it's her 5th or 6th year. She needs to have a good year. And then for SMU, the interesting thing to me is there's so many new players. Trying to see how Coach Adia Barnes integrates those players, figures out what lineup. She has her system, which is obviously defense is her thing. So it'll be interesting to see, how these programs shake out by the end of the year.
Yeah, and I think the knock on Texas Tech maybe the last, year or two has been that they've played a pretty soft non-conference schedule, and then they get kind of into that Big 12 play, and they just haven't been able to, accumulate and stack the wins to make themselves, a formidable team down the stretch to, kind of take that step to get into the NCAA tournament. And so that's why this game to me provides a little bit of interest, because it is another Power 4 opponent that they are facing off against. And SMU has, they went on the road. They played a K-State team that, is still really solid. And they played that in a close game. And like you said, the defensive minded, Coach Adia Barnes is still there. It was 48-46. So, we weren't seeing a lot of buckets go in, but I just think that matchup is going to tell us a little bit more about Texas Tech, especially because she has been there, and is established, where on the flip side, like you said, Coach Adia Barnes is really trying to see what she has in that SMU team.
Yeah, you've got one program that has a lot of tradition for women's basketball, obviously having won a national championship. And over the last few years, they really just haven't had someone that's going to be the woman. You know what I mean? That's just going to take over and do what needs to be done, no matter who's playing her. Everybody knows she's going to take the shot, and so they haven't had that versus, SMU. I'd be interested. Who do you think is going to win that game?
Ooh, that is tough. I would probably go Texas Tech, maybe just because they have, a little bit more of the continuity of who they are. But I think it'll be a good game. SMU has some scorers, and so I think maybe they can come at you a little bit more in different directions than Texas Tech. I mean, I know Texas Tech has some in double figures, but I think the quality of competition hasn't been, maybe what SMU has faced. So I'll give it to the edge to the home team, but I think again, just going to be a quality game. Are there any others that kind of caught your eye, or I know I have one more that I think will be decent to watch.
Not for Thursday. I think that the games that are gonna catch my eye are Clemson is playing Louisville this weekend, and I've been a big Clemson fan and put it out there that they're not going to finish 11th. So Sean Poppy, don't let me down. And Louisville is just their start. They always play hard, and Jeff Waltz always finds something he's pissed about, but they figure it out. They play the defense they need to play. They score when they need to score. So that'll be an interesting game. And then we'll see who the real SC is when Southern Cal plays South Carolina, I believe Saturday. So those are two games that I'm really going to be watching.
Yeah, very intriguing matchups there. The other one, I just, two mid-majors going at it in Colorado State and Gonzaga on Thursday night, I think should be a pretty good game. Colorado State had some turnover, but they are led by an Indiana transfer in Lexus Barkser. So, she's averaging 17 a game. Allie Turner for Gonzaga, a really, really good guard that I think, will always have them in games. And so I'm excited about that matchup.
Where is that game?
I believe it is at Gonzaga. Let me check.
Because if it's at Gonzaga, I give them the edge because their fans are ridiculously just awesome. They really show up for their women's basketball program.
Yes, it is. So it's a home game.
That's a tough place to play.
I think that definitely is one that could be an intriguing matchup. And I think it's Colorado State's first game on the road. But I also wanted to make note of when you said Coach Walls is always pissed about something. I don't know any coach that's ever happy.
Well, I know, but I've spent time talking to him. He's just I love going to shoot around and talking to him because he'll come over and he'll talk forever. But he just blows a gasket if the kids don't play hard. Like I think he can deal with other stuff he might be upset about, but if they don't play hard, like he just blows a gasket. And his definition of playing hard and their definition of playing hard are sometimes far apart. So yes, you are correct. We coaches are never happy with things, but you always want something to work on. So it'll be interesting. But I think that Gonzaga versus the Fighting Becky Hammonds will be that's going to be a good game to watch too.
Yeah, and just a note late into this podcast, but we are pre-recording this on Wednesday. So when we're saying tomorrow night or Thursday, we're a little bit, we're talking about tomorrow on Thursday. So I should have prefaced that at the very beginning of this episode, but hopefully our viewers and listeners are still tuned in. But any other thoughts so far on the college season, Coach?
No, I think it's been very exciting. We've had some really top Power Four matchups, which I love that the coaches are testing themselves. And I really enjoy, watching the teams now and thinking about what they might look like 2 months down the road when they start conference play. And and the coaches not getting, too worked up about things. On the sideline, they've all been pretty chill because they know it's not a finished product. So, but it's been a great week and a half so far.
Yeah, it absolutely has. It's been a treat for all of us. So make sure you're following us at Her Hoop Stats on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, X. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you choose to tap in and listen.
Everywhere.
Yeah, we're available everywhere every weekday. We have so much content on the website as well, stats, newsletters, just a lot of information. So make sure you're checking us out, and you can also watch us on YouTube as well. So, Coach, enjoy the rest of your evening, and it's always a pleasure talking hoops with you.
Ditto.
Thank you.